Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Andreas for their custom monthly music review of a track by an act named Rumer off of their album from 2010, Seasons on My Soul, for a track titled Blackbird. And if we switch over to here, we have the track on the screen along with all the others, and we're going to listen through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Damn, those vocals come in immediately, don't they? Straight with the harmony, dude. Fantastic hi-hat work as well. They're like lots of dynamic range to the performance and the recording.
Warm as the sun, you were the one who outshone me.
Effortless vibrato on that performance. A really strong singer.
Everyone went away. You were the one who adored me. And it's so.
Okay, just before we go too much further into this bridge section, what I want to do is give a shout out to how much we had instantiated within the first second. Piano, the keys, the bass, the really soft sub-layer of the strings, and these vocal harmonies there, not telling the story, but going the ba ba ba. You know, it's just such a quick, effective way of setting the tone, the vibe of the experience you're going to have for the next 3 minutes 55. And I don't even need to go this hard, because this is like the 9th track on the album. Like, by this point, if you're listening to the album from start till finish, you'll be more than familiar with what Rumer is all about. But they understand, even 2010, when people had a little bit more attention than they do now, that they can't just take the listeners for granted. They need to have that crux, that point. They need to reach that sooner rather than later.
Everywhere, so I don't forget. I'll carry you everywhere, so I don't forget. But there's a.
Sorry, just to interrupt as well before we go into the chorus. What I really liked about that bridge is that we had like the bars of 5 and 7. No, we didn't. We had 5/4 and then we had 7/4. So we had 2 bars, one in 5/4 and then one in 7/4, which is pretty dope. It's nice to be messing around with different time signatures. Sometimes we need a little bit of extra wiggle room to kind of include an extra beat there just to split up the vocal lines. And I think having an extra 2 beats from the end of the second bridge stanza to the hook is a smart idea, just to keep it sounding fresh and to allow us a palate cleanser before we get into the catchy part of the song. It is unusual, I like that though. Phenomenal octave harmonies with the vocals here. Really simple, easy to follow percussion groove, you know. Rolling with those triplets. Both those, the intro.
We were watching old movies in our little Technicolor hideaway.
It's so dreamy. It's so atmospheric and dreamy, and with these little kind of ba-ba vocal layers that were put at the start coming in underneath it is a nice development of things vocally within the second verse, especially with the rest of the instrumentation being relatively similar, aside from maybe some very slight changes in the way the drums are being approached. Oh, there's a guitar as well. Dude, there's a guitar there as well. I didn't hear that before. That's so cool.
Oh, love's sweetest reverie, melodies that I can't forget. But there's a blackbird singing.
It's such a fantastic transitional device to tail end on as a call and response to the Blackbird part at the start of these hooks there. It has a kind of a bluesy country, it's kind of bow, 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 and it resolves back to the original, and it's just so, it's clever, man. We didn't have to go this hard, but we are.
Have you been hiding?
Great head voice there.
We've been through so much. We've been through everything together.
Following those runes on the bass. A little bit of accenting on the piano parts, but aside from that.
We've been through so much.
Okay, additional octave lowering, that's cool.
We've been through everything together.
Nice reverb chains on those the additional vocal parts. An extra 2 beats.
There's a
Cool.
blackbird.
I mean, I know people probably say this about a lot of different musicians from the UK, but I'm getting some serious Adele vibes from this. I mean, great use of the organ there as well. There was those little pitter-patters on the ride cymbals there, with the kicks and snares on the beats. It's very eloquent and sophisticated. There's a sense of sadness that comes from the lyrics.
How long have you been hiding?
How long have you been hiding? Interesting. I'm not sure how to take this one because, I mean, this is my conclusion of this review so far of Blackbird by Rumer. The story, when we heard about talking about her, like, kind of carrying them along, you know, carrying them, not letting go of the memories, watching on the Technicolor screen, you know, all the people in there, all glamorous and stuff like that. And then about a blackbird singing, and it's interesting there. I'm not sure if we're comparing if it's like about a relationship or something like that, or if it's just about maybe a hidden truth that they've only just realized very recently. That's the blackbird singing. Maybe there's something very sweet and pretty that maybe has been in front of them the whole time that they've only just found. I'm not sure. This one's a little bit mystical. I feel like multiple listens would allow me to understand it a little bit better. It could also be about the fact that maybe we saw someone, maybe the blackbird is the truth that's singing, and maybe the person she was with hurt them and she wished she'd known that the truth was there all along. I'm not sure. It's okay. We still want to keep the memories, but we don't want to have the pain associated with it. You know, again, it's okay. That's just my understanding of it. I'll probably have a listen to it in my own time. You know, Rumer's voice is phenomenal. You know, fantastic vocal technique. Those vibratos were sensational. Texture and coloration to her voice as well. You know, there's a softness and sincerity there. There's a pain. There's no bitterness, though. It's loving and caring and tender. We obviously have a fundamental understanding of like music theory and composition, primarily because of the way that these melodies were staged here, as well as the harmonies, especially in the hook sections. But even in the intro parts with the ba 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 da da, you know, so charming and classy. You know, really well thought out and interesting to listen to, and that's what you need, especially for pop music or something sort of more, you know, vocal oriented like that. That's exactly what you need. The structure of this track, you had a traditional kind of, well, you just had the intro with the vocals, and then you had the verse, bridge, chorus, etc. You had an interlude with a refrain which kind of went back on what we'd sort of discussed a little bit before. You know, like if we go back and just listen through it just for a second.
Through so much, we've been through everything.
You know, we're talking about how much we've been through together. I love you so much, how we've been through so much together. I just can't tell if that's looking back on a relationship and wanting to continue it, or looking back on a relationship and being sad because we've gone through so much, even though there's that love there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's open to interpretation or I'm just completely missing a key ingredient here. But regardless, the structure is fantastic. The instrumental performances were great. I enjoyed the drumming for the simplicity of it, should I say. I enjoyed the fact that we just roll with those triplets on the rides and the quarter note kicks and snares. The bass line stuck with the root notes for most of the time. The guitar was so well hidden with those piano parts that I didn't really notice it until the little slide, the fret slide there on occasionally in that second verse. That could have been an additional layer that was instantiated at that point. But I'm well done to them for that. The piano as well, it kept with the guitar parts when they were present there, and it was basically an atmospheric sort of device to kind of include a few keys here and there for a bit of extra coloration in the space where there was, like in the middle of the two verse lines in the chorus. The organ was charming, and it was almost like a kind of a church service or something like that about Blackbird, about love and stuff like that. And it's interesting to have the organ involved with a track like this. It kind of makes a little bit more sort of it kind of gives a more of an indication that's potentially relationship based. It has that old school kind of vibe as well to it, like a Hammond organ or something like that. And that was basically just a pad thing alongside the strings there, which were an additional texture at the start. And you know, outside of that, you know, there was some interesting chord progressions and some interesting choices with the time signatures, but mostly we're in 4/4 triplets, and that was fine. I just like the fact we had distinct different musical motifs for different parts, so we didn't just copy and paste. I think that was really creative. Finally, we have ourselves the recording, mixing, and mastering, the studio production, which I've got no real complaints about. I mean, it's Warner Music UK. I mean, like, if you get a bad recording from Warner Music UK, are you having a bad time? Yeah, you've found the one track that they haven't done well. And then, you know, with a major label release, usually if it's done badly, it's done like that on purpose. They get paid enough to make sure that's the case. I enjoy the way that we've recorded different instruments, including the vocals. You know, there's a lot of dynamic range in these performances. We're not trying to crush them with limiting compression and stuff like that. They sound like they were recorded through some pretty dope preamps, and it sounded like everyone was actually playing the instruments. There wasn't a note out of place. You know, there was a bit of sampling that was available in 2010, but not nearly to the ability that we have now. I love the changes in the perceived loudness of different instruments. I like the stacking and arrangement of different instruments in the frequency and spectrum and stereo field. Enjoyed the effects change on the various instruments and the different ways that the different vocal types were treated, and the sub-layering of the vocals as well, like with the intro into the second verse. And I enjoy the proficiency of the overall production in general. I think that the engineers served Rumer's needs very, very well. It was mixed like a indie pop, folk kind of artist should be. You know, it's a soulful tune. You don't necessarily want a lot of brightness and a lot of regality to it. I think this served Rumer's purpose well, and it makes sense when you compare at least what I understood of the lyrics as well as the instrumental performances and everything else involved. Well done. That was effectively SP Patrons review for Andreas for this month. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go check out Rumer's various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists. At this point in time, is need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.